Emily, a 6-year-old girl, had just moved into a new house, but the atmosphere felt strange, and the people around her seemed unfamiliar. She had no friends there. One day, she found a doll, a mysterious doll, and she befriended it. But Emily had no idea what the doll was truly capable of. One day, the doll led her deep into the horrors hidden within the house. What happened next will truly shock you. Will Emily survive? Did the doll harm her? Was this the little girl's final mistake? Discover how the doll trapped the innocent 6-year-old girl into its sinister game and what terrifying events unfolded afterward. Enough to send chills down your spine. When 6-year-old Emily moved into a new house with her family, she felt like her world had ended. All her friends, her school, her familiar streets, everything was left behind. The new town felt cold and unfamiliar. No one knew her. She spent most of her days staring out the window of her new room, her small face pressed against the glass, wishing she could go back. Emily's parents noticed her sadness and tried their best to cheer her up. They enrolled her in a nearby school, hoping that being around children her age would help her adjust. But nothing worked. At school, Emily stayed silent, her tiny frame huddled in corners, her big, sad eyes following groups of laughing children she couldn't bring herself to approach. No one sat with her during lunch. No one played with her during recess. She was utterly alone. Months passed like this, each day heavier than the last. One gloomy afternoon, a terrible storm rolled in. Thick, dark clouds swallowed the sky, turning day into night. The rain poured relentlessly, thunder rumbling like a growling beast in the distance. Emily waited at the bus stop, clutching her tiny backpack, her clothes slowly soaking through. Her father was supposed to pick her up, but he was late. The bus stop stood right across from her school, an empty table and a rusted bench offering little shelter from the storm. Shivering and scared, Emily sat down, trying to stay dry. It was then she noticed something strange. Near the table, half hidden under a torn newspaper, was a small doll, about the size of her hand, delicate yet somehow unsettling. Its porcelain skin was cracked, its dress faded and damp, but despite its battered appearance, the doll's glassy eyes seemed almost alive. Without thinking, Emily reached out and picked it up. It felt cold and heavy in her hands, but she tucked it carefully into her backpack. Maybe it would be her friend, she thought. Maybe it would make things better. Soon after, her father arrived, apologizing for the delay. Emily didn't say much. She just held her bag close to her chest. The doll nestled safely inside, and they drove home through the pounding rain. That night, after dinner and homework, Emily pulled the doll out and placed it on the small table next to her bed. She climbed under her covers, staring at it. Something about the doll was oddly comforting. Lonely, she reached out and gently brushed her fingers across its cheek. In an instant, the doll's eyes flashed a deep, sinister red. Emily gasped, pulling her hand back in horror. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. Maybe it's battery operated, she thought desperately. Maybe it's just a toy trick. But when she inspected it closely, there were no battery compartments, no wires. It was just an ordinary old-fashioned doll, or so it seemed. Terrified, Emily shoved the doll to the far end of the table and buried herself under her blanket, forcing herself to sleep. Morning came, gray and cold. Yawning, Emily looked over at the table and froze. The doll was gone. Panicking, she tore apart her room, looking under the bed, in her closet, everywhere she could think of. Finally, she rushed downstairs to her parents. "Mom, Dad, did you take my doll?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Her mother shook her head. "We didn't touch anything, sweetheart." Puzzled and uneasy, Emily got ready for school. Maybe she had misplaced it. At school, she opened her bag and her blood ran cold. There, sitting atop her books, was the doll. Its cracked face stared up at her, its red eyes dull and lifeless. Emily slammed the bag shut. She didn't tell anyone. How could she? During lunch break, she opened her lunchbox, hoping to find comfort in a peanut butter sandwich or a piece of fruit. But it was empty. Completely, eerily empty. Maybe Mom forgot. But when she got home and asked, her mother swore she had packed it herself. Day by day, things grew stranger. That night, lying on her bed with the doll resting on her chest, something even worse happened. As she dozed off, the doll's eyes flickered red again, and it whispered, "Emily." Emily sat bolt upright, heart hammering in her chest. The doll blinked, its tiny lips moving. "Don't be afraid," it said in a soft, syrupy voice. "My name is Lila. I know you're sad and lonely. I can be your friend, if you want." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. For months, no one had talked to her like that. No one had cared. Through her fear, she told the doll her name. And just like that, a bond was formed. From then on, Emily talked to Lila every day. She told her all her secrets, her wishes, her dreams. She laughed with her, she cried with her, but she never told her parents. Not even once. And that was her greatest mistake. As the days passed, Emily grew even more isolated. Lila became her whole world. But what Emily didn't realize was that Lila was not a friend. She was something much, much darker, something hungry, something that wanted more than just friendship. One morning, as Emily was getting ready for school, her father said, "Sweetie, I won't be able to pick you up today. You'll have to come home by bus with your classmates, okay?" Emily nodded, but Lila had other plans. When the final bell rang and children poured out of the school building, Lila whispered from inside Emily's bag, "Don't take the bus," she said. "There's a shortcut. I'll show you. It'll be fun." Emily hesitated. "Okay," she whispered back. Holding the doll tightly in her arms, Emily slipped away from the crowd and followed Lila's directions. Behind the school was an overgrown path that led into a dense, shadowy forest. The trees loomed like giants, their skeletal branches twisting against the gray sky. Emily hesitated at the entrance, but Lila's voice coaxed her on. "Trust me," she whispered. Swallowing her fear, Emily stepped into the woods. The path was narrow and winding. The deeper she went, the darker it grew, the thick canopy above swallowing the last traces of light. Suddenly up ahead, something moved. A tall, shadowy figure, no, not one, but several, emerged from the mist. Emily froze, terror flooding her veins. The figures had hollow eyes, twisted mouths. They began to move toward her, slowly at first, then faster, faster. Screaming, Emily turned and ran, branches clawing at her arms and face. She could hear the footsteps pounding behind her, closer and closer. She didn't look back. She just ran. Somehow, miraculously, she burst out of the woods and onto a familiar street near her house. Her uniform was ripped, her knees were bleeding, her hands were scratched. But she was alive, and the doll was gone. When she reached home, breathless and battered, her mother gasped. "What happened?" she cried. Emily, too afraid to tell the truth, lied. I fell while running," she stammered. Her parents accepted the explanation. After all, Emily had always been a little clumsy. But inside, Emily knew the truth. She had seen something terrible that day, and the worst part was she had trusted it. Days passed. Emily stopped talking altogether. She avoided her parents. She barely ate. The loneliness returned, heavier than ever. And then, the dreams began. At first, they were faint whispers, almost too quiet to hear. But night after night, they grew louder. Emily, come find me. Bring me back." The voice came from deep within the house, from the basement. Each morning, Emily woke up shivering, her heart pounding. She tried to ignore it. She told herself it was just dreams. But the pull grew stronger, until one night she couldn't resist. Slowly, silently, she climbed out of bed and tiptoed down the stairs. The house was dark. The only sound, the creaking of the old wood under her feet. At the basement door, she paused. It stood slightly ajar, a cold draft whispering from the darkness beyond. "Emily," the voice sang sweetly. "Please, I'm waiting." Her hand trembling, Emily pushed the door open wider. The stairs creaked as she descended, each step a drumbeat of fear. The basement was pitch black. She could barely see, but somewhere deep in the darkness she could feel it. The doll was waiting for her to come closer.